In today's video, we're going to do a deep review dive of an AI visibility tool, Peec.ai. This tool helps brands monitor how visible they are on platforms like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and so on. This tool basically tracks which prompts or queries trigger the mentions or citations of the brand and which external sources are being cited by the AI models. This tool also has some competitive insights, allowing you to see in comparison to the other competitor brands how visible you are against them. Basically, this company is a startup based out of Berlin, Germany. They raised 7 million euros to basically develop this tool, and they're trying to become the next SEM rush, but in answer engine optimization niche. I actually spoke with the guys who actually made this tool, and their mission is to help companies adapt to the world where more and more people are using AI to do the search, and to help companies track exactly what people are searching, how many times they're searching, and what they can do to better improve their positions on these LLM models. Let's go ahead and jump in a tool so that you can get a visual understanding of how this tool works. After you set up the website, you'll be able to see this overview dashboard here, which gives you a lot of information. I'm going to jump into that here in a second. But on the top here, you'll be able to see the brand that you're tracking. Next to it, there is a dates that you can actually select between 7, 14, or 30 days, or you can actually do custom date if you have more data usage that you need to be able to track. And then on the right-hand corner here, you see the AI models. You can track ChatGPT mentions, Perplexity mentions, AI overviews on Google. If you want to upgrade to a next level plan, which they have, more premium plan, you'll be able to track GPT 4o search. You can do AI mode that Google has, Gemini, and Claude. Now, if you take a look at this visibility dashboard here, you'll be able to see that this is what lets you see how visible and how cited you are and how that has been changed over time. For example, you could track if your brand gained more mentions after you launched the product or whatever activity that you did online, it'll be able to see those data charts. And this is updated a lot faster than how Google rankings used to take forever to update in platforms like SEMrush. If you click export here, you'll be able to export this entire data in CSV file, and you can feed that to your custom GPT chat mode or whatever you're using to analyze your data with. Now, going back to the visibility here, if you go over the chart here, and you'll be able to see different dates here, you can see chats or answers where your brand is mentioned compared to the other brands and what are those percentages. As you can see right here, we're seeing that we're 76.9% mentioned when it comes to other competitor brands. For you to understand why this matters, this is your share of voice inside the AI search, like SEO impressions, but the LLM answers, which is the version of those impressions. Now, on the right-hand side here, you'll be able to see all your competitors, and this shows you which competing brands appear most often in the same exact AI chats as you. Now, why this matters? This actually matters because it helps you spot who the AI considers your peers or rivals are. If a competitor is dominating and you know where to focus on, such as like content or link building or whatever sources that they're actually getting cited on, you'll be able to replicate that pretty easily. And this tool does a really good job showing you all that information. The next section is source type, right? And these are your top sources categorized by the source type: corporate, editorial, other, and UGC. And what this does is this shows you the sources AI modes pull from when generating responses that it's involving your brand mention. For example, corporate, right? These are official brand websites, press releases, or company blogs. And then you have the editorial, which is the online magazines, news outlets, or reviews. You have the UGC, which is user-generated content, platforms like Reddit, forums, Quora, etc. And other is like catching all the things like databases or smaller unclassified sources. This gives you a map of where LLMs learn or cite you from. If your competitors are cited more often from editorial or UGC, you might want to push PR or forum discussions. If corporate sites dominate, you know authority websites matter more. Basically, this tells you what fuels AI visibility. On the right-hand side, you'll notice the domain table. Each domain AI model's cited, how often it's used, average number of times it's cited per answer, and its type. And then type is basically categorized into you, like your domain, competitor, competitors' website, other, which is, neutral or unrelated sources, UGC, like we mentioned, Reddit, Quora, and etc., niche forums. And then you have corporate, which is the larger companies or official domains. Now, let's take a look at skinit.com as an example, right? We're seeing that it's used 72% of the time, average citation 1.2. As you can see, skinit.com is used 72% and then average citation is 1.2. Now, this tells you how often AI trusts and cites your domain versus the other competitors. The higher your percent of usage, the more you're considered as an authoritative source, and competitors are lower. So if a competitors are ahead of you with the percentages, it means the LLMs lean on them more than they lean on you. Now, on the bottom, you'll see recent chats here, right? So I think this is a pretty important section. And this is a log of recent AI conversations from ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google overviews, and etc. So that mention your brand. And this actually lets you see the context and the wording of mentions. For example, did ChatGPT say Skinit is the leading provider in custom skins? Or Mighty Skins is a cheaper alternative? You can use this information to adjust your messaging, FAQ content, or even PR pushes. For example, we're seeing one of the examples on Perplexity here. Where can I design my own custom gaming skins? So this is actually, very useful information. We're also seeing the same exact question being asked here on Google, and then we're also popping up there. There is also best websites to design personalized MacBook covers. I mean, you can see what level of information that we can get access to. And coolest part is like it has a timelines on there. 18 hours ago, 1 day ago, we're able to see this, which is really cool. So you can kind of jump to speed. In this next section, we're going to go over the prompts, right? So this is the section where basically we can track queries that people are typing in ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI overviews, and etc. that could bring up your brand in a response. I want you to think of prompts as keywords of AI search world. People are not typing keywords in ChatGPT, they're typing prompts. If you come around here in the right top corner, you can actually click add prompt and you'll be given two choices, right? So you can track singular prompts or you can bulk upload multiple different prompts. For example, the prompt could be, where can I design my own custom iPhone case? Peec specifically asks its users to avoid mentioning your own brand name in the prompt. Why is that? Because the goal is to see if your brand actually shows up organically when someone is asking a general unbiased questions. Just like SEO keywords like best roofing company near me versus your company name plus roofing. If somebody types the prompt with the brand, it's obvious that you would come up for it, but most likely you want to come up for things that you're not yet recognized for. That's how you tap into the new audience, and you want to know that intel. Now in here, when you're adding the prompts, you're basically reverse engineering which AI generated answers from ChatGPT, Google overviews, or other LLMs include your brand. So every prompt that you add in here becomes a tracking query. Now, if you take a look at the IP address, right, you can change this to different countries. And what this does is this defines the geographical region or a search location where this system actually runs the prompts on. For example, if you're targeting the US market, you want to see the data from the United States, not from the whole world and not from a different country that you're not actually having presence in. Just by clicking this, you can actually select whichever country that you're trying to search what AI knows about your brand. The reason this actually is important is because LLMs often tailor result-based or regional relevance, especially when it comes to Google AI overviews and Perplexity. So tracking by country shows how your visibility changes across markets. And then on the bottom here, we're seeing the tags tab. And what you can do here is you can actually categorize and filter the prompts within your project. You can do, for example, like gaming skins or laptop skins or phone skins. If these are the prompts that we're actually going after. So that way you can kind of see your prompts categorized in a data. Now, in this section where you can see tags, tags pretty much help you categorize and filter prompts within your project. So for example, if we're tracking custom iPhone skins, right? So I could tag this to be phone skins, or, you know, laptop skins if my query is related to laptop, or gaming skins if my prompt is related to gaming. This way I can keep the data organized and I know list of tags that I can pull up later. Now let's go back to the data column here. So we're seeing as a first column prompt, right? So the queries you're monitoring here. Then we're seeing the visibility, right? So 100% means you always show up. Higher this percentage, better your visibility is in the AI models. Now, if you take a look at this prompt here, we're seeing 23%. So what this means is we're mentioned in only about 1 in every 4 answers. The visibility tab here basically shows you where you're strong versus where you're being ignored. If we move over to the next tab, this is the sentiment tab. The score here that you're seeing, this is usually measured from 0 to 100 based on how positive or negative the AI mentions of you is. Now, as you're seeing 76, that's positive leaning, 66 is more neutral, and 83 is strongly positive. Understanding this is useful brand perception tracking inside the AI search. This is my favorite part here, the position. So this actually shows the ranking positions inside the AI's generated list or the answers. And basically, if we take a look at 1.4, this means that you appear in a first place most of the time. If we take a look at 3.4, this means that you're typically like the third on the list. This is similar to SEO rankings on Google, but for the AI answers. Next to position, you'll see mentions. And in the mentions, it basically shows you which AI models are showing you where. This is useful for prioritizing which AI ecosystem that you want to focus on. So if you're seeing the increasing amount of leads come from ChatGPT and nothing much in the other LLM models, but you're ranking in the top positions, you're going to want to prioritize ChatGPT because that is the most impactful channel. Now, this one is pretty important, right? Right next to mentions, we have volume. This is in a beta right at the second. This might change in the future, but for you to simply understand, right? This is a bars that represent relative demand here. So more bars that you see, more valuable the query is. So we're seeing here, you know, we have like a 1 red bar, we got 2 bars, we got 3 bars, we got 4 bars, and then we got 5 bars in here. This helps you prioritize high traffic prompts instead of wasting your time on the ones that have low demand. And the next section is a location here. Obviously, we're seeing the US here, but this is useful information because, you know, you can just do like a local versus global monitoring. For example, if your competitors are dominating in UK, but you're strong in the United States, you know exactly where to expand. And right now, I don't have any tags in here because of the example, but these tag sections, you know, help you better organize and filter these prompts by product line or category. Next section is sources here. We kind of went over this data earlier in the overview section, but this is dedicated section, tuning out all the noise and giving you more opportunity to see all the sources down in here. But this tab actually reveals where AI models like ChatGPT and other LLMs are pulling the data from when they actually mention your brand or your competitors. It's like seeing the content backbone behind AI's generated answers. What we're seeing is that this brand has a total of 112 different sources spread across corporate, editorial, UGC, and other types. Each domain is sourced for usage and citation depth. Now, what we're seeing here, right, this line here, this graph allows you to see the visual representation of how the top domains usage actually fluctuates over time. You know, we're seeing Amazon, mightyskins.com. Now we can see the skinet.com is the gray line in here. We're seeing that they have the strongest consistency in AI usage, peaking nearly 100% and stabilizing around 70 to 80%. This means that AI is reliably referencing this website as a trusted source. We're also seeing the mightyskins.com here. This is the top competitor rising and falling alongside Skinet brands. So this indicates that AIs see both of these brands as a co-relevant. Now, Amazon highlighted in a yellow, that's more moderate, consistent presence, which is a corporate source. So it's a default fallback citation. And then we're also seeing Reddit. It's erratic, but impactful spikes. We're seeing that on the chart here. So it's a UGC content from Reddit, which influences the brand contacts when specific discussions actually start to trend. Now, here's the really interesting thing about this, right? So if you're seeing that your lines are rising when Reddit or YouTube lines also rise, it likely means that AIs are mixing customer opinions and product reviews into a brand mentions. It's great for authenticity, but volatile. You can stabilize this by ensuring that your own website content stays authoritative and updated. Again, going over to the source type in here, we have 112 sources, and it's divided into the 4 different types: corporate, official brand or a company websites; editorial, your articles, blogs, magazines, news outlets; UGC, Reddit, YouTube, Quora, etc. And other is more miscellaneous or uncategorized data. Things like, smaller stores, niche forums, AI aggregators. This matrix tells us exactly mix of where LLMs are getting the context for your niche. If corporate and UGC dominate, you're in a brand plus community trust environment, not a press heavy one, meaning PR pushes or reviews could help you influence AI generated opinions. Now on the bottom here, we're seeing the source table, right? And this is source, we got type of source, we got used and average citations. Now we have our used percentages super high. So this is dominance established among AI. So AI actually sees this website as a primary fact base. We can also export this data and let AI analyze this for us. Not happening through Peec.ai, but it can happen through ChatGPT or whatever LLM model that you're using to fetch your data. Let me quickly tell you how to use this data strategically. If you see the Reddit, YouTube, and corporate sources dominate, post more high value UGC and long form product pages. LLMs prefer redundancy. Appearing in multiple source types increases your permanence in responses. You can also reverse engineer the AI trust. This has been working really well, and I've been doing this a lot. So you can use the used percentage and average citations data to benchmark who AI believes most, then replicate their structure. Structured content, FAQs, guides, schema markup, domain authority, internal linking. You can also target the influencer domains. If a small blogs or review platforms appear in the lower ranked pages, those are AI micro authorities. A backlink or a feature from this will increase your exposure in AI responses. Lastly, you can monitor volatility in the source usage graph here. If you see a sudden spike or a drop, for example, Reddit surging, this means that conversation trends changed, often triggered by viral content or new products. You can correlate this with your prompt visibility chart to detect what caused it. Now, this next section is dedicated to competitors, right? And what you can do here is Peec.ai actually gathers all the brands that are being mentioned in the same AI generated answers as you. You can also manually add the competitors to see how they align and how they come up in answers against you. To add a competitor, simply just click add competitor, type their display name here and their domain and click create. This is going to automatically fetch the data. For example, we're seeing the software is suggesting these companies as competitors. In order for us to track it, what we have to do is simply click track, or if we don't want to track it, we can just click reject. Now, for you to understand how this section actually works behind the scenes, right? So when you add a competitor or you accept one that Peec.ai is actually suggesting you can start to monitor whether these competitors actually appear in the same exact answers for the prompts that you're trying to optimize for. It literally logs every time their domain or a brand name is cited or referenced. And you can actually pull that data into the dashboard and you'll be able to see that. And you were able to see that earlier in the overview chart where you were able to see in the source chart, mightyskins.com, slickwraps.com, and then some of the other competitors that we had because we already added them there. By tracking your competitors, if you're seeing that they're appearing in more searches, like we mentioned earlier, you'll be able to reverse engineer their steps and kind of hijack the authority the LLM models are using to suggest them. The next section here is the tags. Obviously, we talked about tags earlier, but this is where you come to create the tags in a dedicated section. You can also create tags just like I mentioned earlier, but here is the dedicated section where you can just create a tag so that you can better aggregate the data that you want to see. And in the people section here, you just see like who has access to the tool that you've given access to. And then in the workspace, again, in order for you to track a project, you have to create a project in a workspace. We mentioned that earlier. And here you can kind of like, pick and choose what you want to track exactly. This video came out a lot longer than I intended to make. It was kind of like a mini course instead of a review. But again, from what I'm seeing right now, a lot of the things, they're still working the things out. These guys are like a startup. They just got started and, they've built this incredible tool. So far, I like it, and we're going to be using this tool. Just based on what I saw on SEMrush, it definitely gives way more data than SEMrush does. In my upcoming videos, I'm going to be making some AI visibility tool comparisons, and be on the lookout for that. And I'm also going to review other tools, and we're going to determine which one is the crown winner. But so far, so good with this tool. If you guys had experience with Peec.ai, please let me know in a comment section below, and I'll see you guys in my next video.